I can't believe I'm saying this, but Blizzard may be doing something actually really cool and good with the new hardcore rule set for World of Warcraft. We're going to be breaking down all the information we have on the hardcore rule set for WoW Classic. Before I get going, please like and subscribe and do all that good YouTube stuff. Leave me a comment, all that kind of stuff. Especially let me know, are you interested? Are you going to be doing this hardcore rule set for World of Warcraft Classic? I gotta admit, I'm thinking about it. All right, first up, most importantly, when you die on the hardcore realm, it is permanent. If you die, you can't run back to your corpse and resurrect. You can't be resurrected by any spell or ability in the game. That includes the Shaman Reincarnation or Warlock Soul Stones. None of that is going to work. You can, however, still exist in the world, but you'll be a ghost. And that's so that you can, tell your friends goodbye and communicate that you have died, and also so that, if you're owner of the guild, you can, turn over that guild leadership over to someone else. Also, it's not like your character's really gone forever. It's not going to be allowed on this server anymore. However, you will be able to transfer this character over to one of the non-hardcore classic era realms. So if you got really far, you really just can't let the character go, well, you gotta say goodbye to it on the hardcore server. However, you can move right over to the classic era realm. Now, just this one rule, and we got a lot more to cover, but just this one rule sounds really fun, intuitive, and the way it should be. Now, let's talk about PvP flagging, because this is a big issue, because normally in World of Warcraft, if you attack another player, it automatically flags you for PvP, and this can happen by accident sometimes, and there's lots of tricks players do to try to make you accidentally attack them, so you flag yourself for PvP. So, they have changed that. On the hardcore rule set server for WoW Classic, you have to flag yourself by actually typing in /PvP. Otherwise, you cannot attack other people. Therefore, it's impossible for you to accidentally flag yourself for PvP unless somehow you accidentally type /PvP. Now let's talk a little bit about the battlegrounds. They are completely disabled, as are all PvP battle masters. Now, however, they do say you can't enter any pre-made war games, but you cannot gain honor or PvP reputations from them. And this makes sense. As they state, if they left it on a hardcore server for battlegrounds and that risk of dying is a little too great. For one thing, would anybody even do it? And even if they did, they wouldn't be acting correctly, right? They'd be way too defensive, possibly not even participating. Simply put, PvP is just not the focus of the hardcore rule set. And even if you do the war games, they do not offer honor or other rewards. But you do need to be careful. If you engage in war games, death is still permanent. Then they go on to talk about PvP and quest updates. So various quests and objectives that cause players to become PvP flagged, such as a quest called The Attack and The Missing Diplomat, they no longer cause players to become flagged for PvP. And all the other various quests and objectives that require you to die to complete or initiate the quest or objective can now be completed without you dying. They've also changed it to where some of the escort quests, I'm sure you can all think of those, where, somebody would come kill the NPC on the opposing side. They have adjusted that so those NPCs can no longer be attacked by players of the opposing faction. They said that this is just kind of a gameplay disruption that they don't really feel has a place in the game, and they don't feel like it really adds anything meaningful to the game. Also, let's talk about leashing. So, most creatures will leash and reset when leaving the area or zone they are engaged in. So, we've all been there. Somebody drags a very high-level mob or monster over to a lower-level area and gets everybody killed. They are changing the range for monsters so they can't be pulled that far and that kind of thing, so that that type of situation doesn't happen. And they'll continue to monitor that because players find a way, so they claim they're going to stay on top of that and make sure that we get legitimate gameplay and we don't get slaughtered by somebody, trolling us. Now, let's talk a little bit about, I think this might be a little controversial, but hear it out. Dungeons on a clock. So all dungeons are going to have a 24-hour lockout timer for all players below level 60. So they feel like the adventures that are in the outside world with the other players are kind of the real meat and potatoes of World of Warcraft Classic, and they really want that to be the big part of the experience for hardcore mode. Now, That means that you cannot just do dungeons over and over and over and repeat those. You have to go out in the world. You can run a dungeon, but you can't run it again for 24 hours. This means more people out in the world, more people out doing stuff together, and that kind of thing out in the world, which they feel is the true beauty of Classic, which I can see that. Even though I'm a dungeon lover, I can understand this. And also, level 60 players can never enter lower level dungeons for players, with players that are below level 60 for any reason at all. And they're leaving that thing from Season of Mastery where basically if a higher level is in the group, then the creatures would just give crappy XP. This is to prevent people from power leveling and that kind of thing. Now that's one I feel like you're going to have a comment on, so leave me a comment down below how you feel about the dungeons being on a 24-hour lockout timer. Now also, let's talk a little bit about buffs. So the 16 debuff limit and the 32 buff limit has been removed. Debuff and buff limits were originally a technical limitation. Back in World of Warcraft Vanilla, when it actually had first come out, was not something they put in or a design that they intended. Now they kept that when they did World of Warcraft Classic, but it's always just been a part of World of Warcraft they didn't think was really significant, and so they'll be removing that limitation of Hardcore Realms, so you'll be able to do as many buffs, as many debuffs as you want. Here's a big one that's going to hurt my feelings. Paladins will not be able to use their Hearthstone while under the effects of Blessing of Protection, Divine Protection, or Divine Shield on Hardcore Realms. So being able to bubble Hearth, very iconic, of course, something that a lot of people did. As they say here, it's not very heroic, but it's something that Paladins definitely did, and that's not going to be allowed anymore. So Paladins will not be able to use their immunity abilities in order to Hearthstone and escape danger. Now they have also added a new feature called a duel to the death. So basically, you can right-click a target's portrait and request a duel to the death. Both parties have to read and acknowledge a warning message and agree to begin. As it sounds, it's permanent. Whoever loses is gone. They're dead. Now, they believe this is going to become something that a lot of people are going to want to brag about and that kind of thing because it's very risky, right? So it will track the number of kills you receive in duels to the death with a special cosmetic buff to your character called String of Ears. Each time you get into a duel to the death and win, you get a trophy, an ear, that counts onto this buff as it increases by 1 with each kill from a duel to the death. So people that like to PvP and duel, this should be a lot of fun for you to do, especially on a hardcore server where if you lose, that's it, baby, you're done. Also, the Hardcore Realms are going to have all the original WoW content phases unlocked and available right at launch. So one thing that's really cool they mentioned here is that with hardcore mode, the end game is usually not the focus. And most of what everybody's doing and playing is kind of around the journey and not the destination. That makes the hardcore server evergreen, meaning it's always fun to pop in and see how far you can get regardless of what is happening in the other versions of World of Warcraft. A common complaint World of Warcraft is it too late to start playing? They want this server, the answer to always be no. There's still lots of new players all the time because of the nature of dying and having to start over. So content locks and unlocks are just not necessary, and everything from Classic will be available from the start. And it does make endgame really interesting because you'll still have to work your way through for gear to be safe, etc. through all the, Molten Core, Blackwing Layer, and on and on. So for the people who are brave enough to do that, that is going to be some very intense raiding. Maybe the most intense raiding in World of Warcraft ever since death is permanent. Now, anything that is done by the players to deliberately hamper or impede the ability of other players to enjoy the game is not allowed. So, trying to kite important quest mobs far away from their spawn location, doing anything annoying just to ruin other people's good time is not allowed. Or taking actions to deliberately cause the death of another player. They understand that it's critical to the health of this particular server that everybody does play nice and play fair with one another, or else this entire server is useless. Now, they are currently in the test phase for the World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore Server. It actually sounds pretty good. I would love to hear what you think in the comments down below, but I tell you what, I kind of want to do it. There's enough things here that really make this feel interesting, plus it would be a blast to stream this, since when you die, you're down, that's it, you're gone. I think probably the most controversial thing here is probably that 24-hour lockout. Because, I mean, I get it, like, out in the world, you want people out in the world, but, like, dungeons would be dangerous in this environment, right? So I don't know if I really understand that 100%. I kind of feel like let people go in dungeons as much as they want if they want to. I think maybe they're more seeing it as a way of like kind of cheesing your way through levels and they want you out in the world. But dungeons are dangerous. Like, seems like you would probably maybe die there. So I don't know if I understand that balance. That's the only thing out of this I'm a little confused by, but I'm okay with it. I mean, seeing more people out in the world just makes an MMO better. So, you know, whatever. I'm just not a big fan of restricting content, but hey, whatever. This is a decision they wanted to go with, so there it is. But let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. I'm really interested to see how many people are actually interested in World of Warcraft Classic from my community and from outside my community. Thank you all. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming. I want to give a very special thank you to the members of Napalm for your contributions month over month in keeping me full-time. You help me pay the bills so I can keep streaming and pumping out content, and I truly appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, and I think you might be interested in becoming a member of the channel. Please click the join button down below the video for more information and join our family. And I want to give an extremely big shout out to the Lords of Napalm. Bounty Code, Jared Woodhouse, Dimeblows, Farthest Reach, Sparrow, Christopher Hensel, Random Rob, Zelik Lived, Rodney Mom, Vander, Gallery Moonsong, What's the Takeaway, Trips, Bad Wolf Gaming, Richard Glass, Chrono Guru, Cobalt, and the Cyber Nomad Witcher. Thank you for your highest tier membership.